I'm trying to explain to you why I was so unprepared for segregation.
Yeah.
I should have been used to it. I wasn't. My family was integrated. This is my grandmother. Her mother came to California during the gold rush as a slave. At that time, blacks, Asians, and Indians could not go to public school. So great-grandma put grandma in an Episcopalian school in San Jose. For some reason, the school closed. By that time, great-grandma had been emancipated by the Emancipation Proclamation. She moved to Portland, Oregon. Put grandma in an Episcopalian convent. For some reason, the convent closed. Just between us, I think grandma was closing those schools. Great-grandma then got mad and moved to Canada to get away from discrimination. But believe it or not, here's grandpa, born in Belfast, Ireland, into a family of approximately 20 children. When the potato famine hit Ireland, he had to go to sea. They couldn't support all those children. He came down with a fever. He was very fortunate. In those years, when the crewman came down with a fever, they dumped him overboard while he was still alive, so the fever wouldn't spread to the rest of the crew. They didn't have refrigeration. He was close enough to land, where instead of dumping him in the ocean, they put him off in British Columbia. That's Canada. His men scouted around and found this woman who practiced a little herbology and I think a little voodoo. She nursed him to health. He married her in Canada. Couldn't have done it in the United States. My mother was the third child of that interracial marriage. Before I came to California in 1929, I had never had a black neighbor. I never had a colored kid in my class because in Seattle, my two sisters and I were the only colored kids in the whole school. But you see, I had no racial hostility at all. It turns out that Grandpa was the only grandparent I ever saw. She died when Mother was 12. I didn't see her. I got her picture, but I never saw her. Dad was an orphan by age 6. I never saw either one of his parents. There he is. We lived with George Maunder in Seattle until we came to California in 1929. He never gave up his seafaring days, and sometimes he'd be gone 30 or 60 days. My sisters and I could go into his bedroom and find candy carefully hidden where we could find it. How are you going to hate a man like that? It was like hating Santa Claus. I came up absolutely. It wasn't until I got to California that I saw the first colored neighbor or the first colored kid in my class. I wasn't ready for that. I was used to being called names, but never segregated. And that's why I was so unprepared for segregation. And now I realize the battle I had to get into the advanced course of the ROCC and get a commission prepared me to be the leader in the integration fight in the fire department. Shortly after I was integrated, they called it integration. I called it isolation. Yeah. The other firemen wouldn't speak to me. Then a young kid came on, a young white kid. I noticed that whenever no one else was around, he'd speak to me. I also noticed no hatred, curiosity. He'd never been around a black man before. The first time he says, "Hartsfield, you folks just ain't ready." I said, "Well, Bill, I'm just asking you to accept the ones that are ready." Then he went back and talked to the old-timers again, came back, "Hartsfield, we don't want this job to become like the post office, a colored man's job." Now, this is before Obama. I said, "Well, what are you doing here? You could have been president." "I'm here because this is the very best they'll let me do." He tried me again. "Hartsfield, why wouldn't you be happier over on Central Avenue with your own kind?" Fortunately, I had heard him talking to the other men. I said, Bill, why aren't you back in Oklahoma with your own kind? I heard you tell the men that your mother brought you and your brother to California to better your condition. If you want to know why I wouldn't be happy over on Central Avenue, get in that rig and turn on the radio and listen to the rest of the night. We had as many runs in a day as you have in a month. This is like early retirement. He tried me one more time, only one more. Hartsfield, you got all the advantages. You got the NAACP, you got the Urban League, you got the Supreme Court. I said, hold it, Bill. Tomorrow morning when we get off duty, come with me down to headquarters. Tell them you've just discovered some black blood in your family tree, and you won't even have to prove it, and you'll have all my advantages. You know, the next morning I couldn't find that dude, and he never bothered me again. And I am just astounded at two things: the blessings that I've received and the stupidity of seeing only the dark side, only the obstacles. If I could have believed that I'd live long enough to see Doug Berry as chief of this department, the little barbs they threw at me wouldn't have meant a thing. It would have been worth it, you know? Unfortunately, even if I had been told, I wouldn't have believed it. But now I know. That's why I told Kwame it was worth it. And you fellas, men and women, because there's a black woman captain, I never got a promotion in the fire department. And then they had to make up a new medal for me, Lifetime Achievement Award, and Doug Berry handed it to me. Complete victory. All things put together, I'm the happiest, the luckiest, the most blessed rookie you will ever meet. And the same title that might have been given to put me in my place turned out to be an honor. Huh? How can I complain? How can I complain?